yeah, whatever.
Okay, so,
I just can't imagine on the other side that it wouldn't be advantageous for them too. So,
Absolutely.
did you want to review what you took out of the budget?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
do that real quick.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. You wanna
Are we
start?
back in order now? Okay. Do we have a cameraman? No, that's
I'm
okay.
gonna go.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay, I gave you all today's revised proposed and the revised default from the past. I should have fixed the total on the front of this, I mean the title.
The
Title.
title total, yes.
We were just finishing this up before we got here.
I think you were finishing it up after you got here.
Because you can see it was printed at 321.
Yeah.
So if you look at the inside page, it says 446. You're going to see the middle column is the proposed budget. The operating expenditures, the difference between 2018 and 2019 proposed is $159,994. That's a 2.48% increase. The default is still at 1.42. That's $91,423.75. I'll have to find the 75 cents. So the comparison between the proposed and the default is just over 1% difference in the operating expenditures. The outside funds, if you include those, we have a difference between the proposed and 18 approved of $296,998. It's a 3.25% increase. The default compared to 2018 approved is $140,615. It's a 1.54% increase. So not all of this budget increase is made up of anything that might affect your tax rate. For example, the parking meter expense. I know this is a small piece, is made up of an increase that would not come from property taxes. The sewer users' operating cost would come from the sewer users through the sewer billing. So that increase would be part of that. The special detail, that is a decrease. That is outside, those are considered enterprise funds. There's revenues coming in for the most part on those items. There is a small portion of the Opera House that would be considered from tax rate. And if you go to that budget, which we won't go to this minute, you'll see we've made a cut there. So the budgets that have stayed the same, you won't find any notes on the right-hand side as we flip through these. So you're going to flip through until we get to the assessing, which is page 11. Yes, thank you. We have taken out that $7,500 amount that's in the 2019 proposed budget. We're going to pay it out of what's left of 2018 budget.
What page?
Page 11.
Continue on. The next budget, we cut some items out of. One item was the police department. We have removed the car purchase in the proposed budget, $45,750.
What page?
That's page 18 of 46. Continuing, nothing has changed in the fire department budget, nothing in the Public Works Administration budget. In the Public Works budget, looking at the proposed, we basically have moved a position called Public Works Manager into the proposed. We have a Public Works Manager currently that's in term. So in essence, the last person we hired as a truck driver really should be the person that was on that warrant article. And that warrant article that we had in 2018 read highway employee. It didn't specify truck driver, didn't specify what position. But we have restructured this department with using the number of people with that warrant article person to be what it's supposed to be. So we removed one truck driver in the proposed budget because we now have the Public Works Manager in this budget. And along with that, of course, the calculation for health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, Social Security, Medicare, and retirement came out. So that budget was reduced by about $54,101. Under bridges and sidewalks, we have removed $2,500. Our plan is to try to purchase $2,500 worth of sidewalk and bridge sealant this year. And if we get the proposed budget next year, finish buying that. So we can at least try to get some work done on the bridges and the sidewalks. We continue on. The next budget that had a reduction in it was the transfer station. Under the proposed budget, we reduced the transfer station part-time person. In the proposed, we had that person as 20 hours a week. We've knocked that down to $12,000, which is 16 hours per week. And that goes along with some other minor adjustments down to the wage-related items. Under Parks and Recreation, and that's what you want to look at, is page 39 and 40. Excuse me, 39 and 40 of the Parks and Rec.
Where the changes actually are.
Yes, the changes are on those pages. We reduced the amount to purchase new push mower and weed whackers from $3,000 it was down to $2,000. That's still a $1,000 increase over last year. And the Parks and Rec department can use their revolving fund balance to purchase items if they have something break down. The other item that was removed out of here is the $8,000 for fireworks. Does not mean that they can't still do the fireworks. They did it last year. How it worked last year is they took it out of their fund balance and took in donations as revenues. They can do the same thing. They're able to do that.
They said if we build them the swimming pool, they'll be happy to make that day.
So, at some time, at some point, could you address, if you came to some kind of memorandum of agreement with the school on snow removal and also on the mowing? Because the mowing, not having you funded and paid when we gave, was it $6,000?
Per year, and
Per
it's
year.
been 2 years.
It's been 2 years. That money was in the school budget to pay the town crew that actually performed the service. So at some point, if there's not a memorandum of agreement, I would like us to consider taking $6,000 out of the school budget and give it to the actual department that does the service. So I don't know when and where we discussed that.
At this point, we gave them a proposal, and we're waiting for their response.
But
You want an MOA as opposed to an MOU?
yeah. So MOA. Yeah, but anyways, right.
Agreement.
Agreement. So you all understand what I'm saying on
Yeah.
that. So wherever and whenever we need to discuss that, let us know.
I mean, obviously it comes down to whether it comes out of the right pocket or the left pocket, but there's nothing wrong with actually having it. It should go eventually wherever the job is done.
Yeah.
Right, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, on page 42, under Opera House, we have reduced the janitor back down to 25 hours. We were trying to bump it up to 30 in the proposed. The thought there is we could force some of the charges for cleaning up to some of the renters of the Opera House. So it does reduce the amount needed for the appropriation on the tax rate. If you look, it would have been roughly about $54,772. Instead, it's dropping it down, so it's just a little bit above 2018's approved. And then, under parking meters, we have a reduction of $1,000 where we used to reimburse mileage, because this person will be able to use the utility vehicle and possibly the admin vehicle if needed. Additionally, we've decided to purchase the pole straightener in 2018, so we removed that. That amount was $650. And then the final items are under the sewer budget. We've actually removed a total of $13,000. It's for cleaning, monitoring, and repair. The more that we're doing to improve what we have, the less we need to continue doing that repairs and monitoring. And we normally, we are going to be actually buying some of the items that we need to do some of these repairs in this year. So that is one reason why we moved that. So that was where about $130,000 has been reduced out of budget so far.
Okay, let's move on to the warrant articles and then hit everything afterwards, or
Okay.
do you want to discuss it now?
We're gonna talk about increasing the fees and property fees and bonus.
So, I mean, if you can, if you want to make a recommendation, there's a parking commission that's looking at all of that, and if you wanted to give some direction of your feeling to the select board.
Well, if they don't make a recommendation,
But they would like your input too, I mean, if you guys want to.
I'd double both of them.
Yep.
But I know.
Yeah.
We'll tell you very well.
Well, I didn't hear him. And I didn't hear what you
I'd
said.
double both the fee and the fines.
Double
Parking
them?
meter,
Parking meters, yeah.
parking meter fees and fines.
So I think his motion was he wants to recommend to the select board and the parking commission that at a minimum the fees and fines be doubled for.
Yeah, we're really, yeah, okay, so that's a motion, and you had a second, right, Heather? Any discussion?
No, I think our fees, if you go to other tourist areas, are back in the, 70s and 80s. They're just really out of whack, so.
Chief?
We don't want to be Durham, New Hampshire, though, at $100 a shot.
No, but.
Does the chief have anything?
Oh, you were thinking he had something to say?
Jim's
well.
actually chairman of the parking commission, so he probably has a lot of feedback.
Yeah,
Oh, you
I
are?
could.
Okay,
I could.
go ahead.
Well, please
so-
do. How many hats do you wear?
He's never
I'm not
home.
wearing them.
When you get married, this isn't going to go away, is
This
it?
goes away.
Oh, no, Jesus, Jimmy, no.
There'll be
So,
other tasks.
so do you want to add anything to that?
No, just that the committee's been working hard with the North Country Council on looking at rates in the area and seeing where Littleton falls in. I'll say generally they're lower, and there was some public input sessions and business gatherings where we talked about rates, and some of the findings are in that study. But generally supportive of increasing the rates. How much is up to the select board
We don't want to
what
be
the
onerous.
taxpayers are willing to.
We don't want to be onerous.
No,
No.
no, but
But
some of the discussions were if we're heavily, if there's a lot of seasonal influx in people that are used to getting fines of $50, you know, a $5 fine doesn't really deter them very much, so.
What if, regular, like, no parking
Yeah,
is $25, but it's the fee, if they don't pay it, that's where they should get
right.
slapped.
Yeah,
Yes,
so-
it- Delinquent.
So just change that, if you don't pay it within a certain date, you'll automatically go to whatever the state recommended fine is for that.
Yeah.
Chances are, it's gonna be double or triple.
So to answer your,
I don't mind amending the motion because, you know, you got the handicap parking issue and the different types of fines. I just think they should be looked at, they should, definitely should be increased.
Oh, definitely.
I second the amendment to, I support an increase
And then leave it up to the.
and defer to the
Sure.
recommendation of parking.
sure, we'll work closely with the police department and
Take them,
I
oh,
mean, I would.
Well, I mean,
Look at the
for,
fee
you know,
schedule.
Yeah.
okay, so with that discussion,
If the
then we,
handicap is $150 for the parking ticket, if they don't pay it within a certain date,
Yeah.
it goes to the $350.
so Ed, your motion in general is to support a review.
Definitely should be looked at,
Yeah,
increased.
okay, and there's a second from Heather, okay?
and didn't you say double, though?
We amended it,
Well,
Okay,
then,
sort of.
okay.
I was thinking primarily just the meter and then the $5 fine, but it goes way beyond that, with all the other
Yeah.
fines they have.
Okay, okay, the motion made and seconded and discussed, so the general recommendation is to support a review and a increase in the level of fines and penalties.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay. Unanimous. Thank you, Jim.
Sure.
I gotta talk to your future wife, though.
Are we making other amendments on the budget at this point, or are we really going to come back to the
yeah,
budget?
that's, what do you want her to run through the warrant articles? Or
Yeah, that's fine, whatever, but as long
Yeah,
as
and then we
to
can
the
come
budget.
back, yeah.
That's good.
Sub 2, no, it's not on here.
Okay.
Not yet. That one came in just as I was leaving. So the first item on this top section, we do have a correction to make. That $6 million bond for the sub-area 2 will actually be that amount that she had on the bulletin. We didn't find out that before.
You printed this.
Yeah, we printed this late afternoon, and that was something that just come up.
So what was that
So-
amount?
Yeah, I believe it was $6,322,000. Sorry. Thought I wrote it on there.
That's okay, so it's over the 6 million?
Yes.
And that can be offset by,
It will be offset by, of course, financing the first year, plus offset by grants. So,
which could be up to what, 45%?
And we're gonna work the warrant article so that if we didn't realize the USDA funding, that we would not pursue the project, we would go through, wait till the cycle open again, reapply.
And
Actually-
reply, okay. And hope everything stays together so you don't have jail time. Yeah.
Usually it's industrial
Okay.
discharge that was being- Yeah.
and
then,
I think along that lines, I think would, if we could figure out what we're gonna save for capacity or gain for capacity at the treatment plant, that would help other special interest groups like LIDC determine how much they can build and things like that. In
Yeah.
other areas, you know, how much more could be added to the system.
Right.
So
I
if we
think
know
that
we can
the-
save.
The
or-
number was really about the high water, when the water table's high, it was a 70% flow reduction. But it's not gonna be, it won't be 70% all year long. It's
Right.
really during those, like, you know, the spring thaw and the rain season, so. But 70%.
Okay.
then one other item that needs to be added to this is the bond for $45,000, which $30,000 will come back in the form of grants. and we can do an offset from the sewer funds for the remaining 15,000 to pay the bond off, but we have to bond it first.
So that's the waste management
Was there-
study.
That's right, the CIP basically.
Wasn't there a $15,000 forgiveness? Where was that?
Yep, so that is, it's a $30,000 loan forgiveness,
Yeah.
and then there's a $19,000 remaining one-time payment that'll come out of the sewer fund.
Okay.
19,000, not
Yeah.
15,000,
And
sorry.
the total
Get my
amount for sub
15s
two
mixed
is
up.
$6,322,300.
6,322,000.
Three million,
Twenty.
or three, sorry, 6,322,300.
Okay. Then if we go by the default budget,
Yeah.
we will have a tax rate on the default budget of 7.246 per thousand. And this is an estimate only. It will go down if the valuations go up. Could go the other way if the valuations go down.
So the valuations aren't in that we've already talked about?
Those are, so the tax, what this would be is an estimate for next year's impact, next year's tax rate. So the values that are set as of April 1st of 2019 will be what the tax rate will be based off of these warrant articles.
Okay.
We know of, just based on new construction that we're aware of, that as of April 1st, there's somewhere around $15 million just of new construction. So you figure for every $1 million of valuation, I think it produces the equivalent of like $22,500,000 in revenue. You can kind of backwards that into its impact on the tax rate.
Plus, you might have some tax abatements that come in too, right?
You know, and that's another thing to note is, you know, some of the increase in our budget is actually the overlay that we have to fund. The school doesn't have to produce overlay, we do. And, you know, that's in our budget. So if you see, like, that's a $200,000 item that is us, and we can't cut it. It's gotta be there just in case, because abatements go for everything.
Similar to the TransCanada loan that we had to take out to pay back TransCanada. We've had to include that in our budget where the school has not had to see any hit from that. So,
Because they were 2/3 of that.
and they were.
Yeah, and I mean, another consideration too, when you're looking at that bottom line of what is town, what is school, because if you're looking at it that way, if you take a look at all of the petition warrant articles, those aren't necessarily town warrant articles, they're everybody's, but they get thrown onto our area. So just things to keep in mind that we collect all the taxes for the whole town, we assess all the properties for the whole town, and it's town and school, but it's our expense, and they're not changeable.
And you do a fine job.
Well, hey, thanks.
So I could tell you that if all of the town-sponsored warrant articles passed, which do not include the union agreements at this time, we're looking at a 0.637 cents per thousand on the tax rate. The petition warrant articles for the chamber would be a 0.018%, 0.018 cents per thousand. And then the social services petition warrant articles are 0.152 per thousand. For a total tax rate, if everything passes and the
On,
default budget passes,
on the warrant articles and,
the default budget
okay,
of $8, 5, and
2 cents.
yeah, 2/10 of a cent. If you flip your page over, the town tax rate in 2018 was $7.90 per thousand. So a difference of 15 cents.
Without
Everything.
without any of the union contracts.
Correct.
So that's just.
Correct. So now if we go to the proposed budget, and this number that's on this sheet
Yeah,
does not take out, this was the former total.
okay.
So that 130,000 rough estimate was 15 cents on the tax rate. So this $7.598, you minus 15 cents off that, It's 744.8
So that's 6,189,000 as opposed to the, now you'll have this answer, as opposed to the 6,619,000 proposed here.
proposed budget. Now, that is,
Some number that's in there that isn't or shouldn't be.
no, that's the operating expenditures.
Yeah.
So this number
What
right
page?
here,
Page
if you look at page 5
Yeah,
of 6,
yeah.
the proposed budget number, where the 9,579,996 is, should be 9,448,946.
Okay.
That's roughly 130,000.
Plus the offsetting revenue figure, which
Right.
is our best, still our best estimate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you do the same thing, you add in the sponsored warrant articles, and those all pass, the town petition warrant articles, which are the chambers, and the social service petition warrant articles. You take that 8.404 per thousand minus 15 cents off, $8.25.
As opposed to the 790,
As opposed to the 790,
okay,
Previous year. Yeah.
previous year.
so 35 and 4/10 cents per thousand.
And that's without the
The school.
negotiated agreements.
Karen, is that's the last number? So 50 cents now, is that,
The 50 cents is actually less,
how much is it?
15 cents less, so it's 35.
35 cents.
So in like backwards engineering, one of the things with assessment and economic development, we're thinking about is like how many more millions of dollars of valuation would go on to, to where you get to not having an increase. And, I think we estimated we're, maybe about 15 million in additional construction next year. We figure that that's, say, 22,500 in revenue.
Mhm.
And we're getting pretty close to having.
So that's a
No
4.4%
impact.
increase. 4.43 over last year.
3.25.
That's what I got.
You take,
Because you're counting in
The
the
petition.
petition
Yes.
warrant article, sorry.
yeah,
Yeah. Right.
Okay, what's your choice in discussing, going through the operating budget first, or do you want to hit the warrant articles, or what's your recommendation, sir?
Are there any warrant articles that anybody really has an issue with? At the risk of being redundant, which I oftentimes am, I mean, the social service articles, not to discount anything, but relatively small dollars, and my opinion still is on those that if the town of Littleton were to try to produce or provide any of those services, it would cost us way more money. I mean, we'd have a hard time paying for a person in an office for what all those do, and with the societal issues that are present today. I mean, we saw all those presentations. Personally, I think all those folks make everybody's life a little bit better, and they prevent a lot of things from getting onto the tax rolls.
So you want to vote on it as a group?
Well, unless somebody has any particular one that they have an issue with, yes, I would certainly entertain a motion to support them as listed.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? Ralph?
Well, you're just talking right now about just the social services.
The social service office, yeah.
No discussion.
Boys and Girls Club, Birch House,
Yeah.
Home
No
Health,
discussion with that.
et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Okay, all those in favor of supporting the social service articles, if I'm phrasing that correctly, as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, unanimous approval, I believe.
and have you in that vote too?
I don't vote, so
Okay, I won't.
I want to stay consistent with that.
Okay.
I would like to vote for it, but yes, okay.
Okay, that's quick.
Now, the other town-sponsored warrant articles.
Just a question,
Yes.
follow up with what Ralph said earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can have a negative vote on those union agreements and there's no dollars assigned to it. I don't know how you can say yea or nay.
No.
We can't.
No.
We can't. So the question being is, well, we don't want to necessarily do a no vote anyways, because unless we actually mean a no vote. But that might be something that we bring back in January. I hate to do it to you, but one more meeting in January to discuss it.
Rather do that.
There'll be something else that happens.
So, I mean, I'm just saying that that's
Yeah.
how we normally
Yeah. So-
have had to do it in the past.
Yeah, so on the town-sponsored articles, I guess the first question is, are there any articles that anybody would like to discuss in particular? Ralph?
I got the two with Park and Recreations. I don't think they know exactly what they need for funds. I mean, he's saying here, the dog park, they need 45,000. They're looking for the taxpayers to come up with 22.5, they got an offset of 22.5. But he was showing me, he only got $2,000 in donations. So I don't see where he's gonna come up with a difference on the 22.5. So I don't think that one
Where
and
is
the
that?
other one was the dog park.
13 and 14.
Oh, 13 and 14.
Chris,
Number
Chris is
13.
here. I guess he could
I
answer it.
don't think these numbers are real.
Okay, Chris, thank you.
So,
We're, not like we're talking about you in absentia.
No, that's
We're-
so our partnership with Above the Notch Humane Society, I guess a few years ago, there was a warrant article that went to them to support something. I forget exactly what it was for, but we have verbal agreement that they're gonna be donating around between $5,000 and $10,000 to us for that. There are other grants available. We've applied and been denied for one, but we're going to continue applying for grants. They're through dog food companies, through other organizations for this. So we're not done with our grant operating, and we've also, we're going to be receiving some larger donations as well, and that's where our 22 is going to come from.
I'm supportive of the dog park, but if this article includes a lot of this money goes for a piece of property that you don't even know, you don't know if you're gonna own that.
So that is our goal right now. There are
We've been
other,
trying to get that for 15 years.
oh, okay, well,
I could speak to that. So this is our second request for them. It's the DOT owns it. They used to use it for pretty heavily, I think, for the sand storage and some equipment storage. They have a new, Jim can probably speak to it, I don't know if he's supposed to or not, but there's a really good facility over on Dells Road that's state of the art, and this is a tiny little piece. I've had a meeting with our regional DOT manager, Phil Bellier, and asked him if he could support this. Really, it relies on their decision. In fact, it was turned down last time, I think, because the local manager said he still wanted to use it. Since then, I've had a meeting with him and went over it, and it goes through all the various bureaus, Bureau of Environment, Traffic, all of them, and eventually gets recommendation from the local manager. And he indicated that he wouldn't oppose it. So I
If
think
we
it's,
approved this article and you didn't get the land, what happens to the fund?
we'd have to get a new site.
yeah, and it's not an if it's gonna happen, but a where. So there's a couple other town-owned properties that we've taken a look at. They're not as accessible as that site, so it wouldn't be ideal and fit all of our goals, but it would be a place for people to drive to. The landfill was talked about, not my favorite place personally. We have the Eaton property, which is an unused property with 103 acres on it right now. So that funding would go toward the landscaping of that area to make it happen.
That's a long ways to walk.
It's a long ways to walk, which is why we're going with that, but there's several other town-owned properties that we would be using instead.
So when would you basically know?
So the process takes up to a year, I'm told, but I was told it's probably be another 3 months to review.
To review, okay, I was,
Okay, but if we support this and this doesn't, the money's not gonna get spent unless there's a project that,
That's right, and the
Becomes
matching
viable.
funds,
Yeah.
because, there's a base of how much it actually costs, and if they don't come up with the match, then,
so it's not just
right.
without controls or whatever, it's gonna get
Yes.
handed, and the selectmen will participate in the
Mhm.
oversight of it too?
That's right, so it would create, ultimately it would create a expendable trust fund, and it would name the select board as the trustees. And so through a public hearing process, they could release funds to be used, but it would have to be a really
Okay.
public process.
But the one that, the property you've identified is really what you think would be the cat's meow, no
Yes.
pun
That's the
intended.
ideal.
That's great.
Will cats be allowed? With
We're
cats?
not gonna discriminate against cats.
No, that's right, you can't hurt them either, so.
We'll have to make a cat park right next to it, but,
I think the cats will have their own park, but,
So I guess maybe it's more of, in general, do we support going forward with a dog park?
Putting money into it, $22,500 into a fund.
Right.
that we don't know when it's gonna get spent, or we don't know a lot about it. That's my biggest issue.
well, yeah, but I guess we do know though that when it gets spent, it'll be spent wisely. I mean, it's not gonna,
It needs to be on this.
Yes.
And if it does fall, what Ralph said, what happens to the funds? Nothing happens, it goes kaput, there's no dog park ever I'm in, what happens to the funds?
So if there is never gonna be a dog park, then what would likely happen is there would be a warrant article to dissolve the dog park fund, and then the funds could either go in the general fund or dedicated to some other, it probably most likely just.
And
go
the
to
donations would have to be returned.
okay.
So can you have a time limit on, written into the warrant article, 5 years, this,
I
this,
could put a non-lapsing in
Or
there.
Or
lapsing.
A lapsing, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I don't know
if
if
something
anyone
didn't
wins that,
happen,
but if
yeah.
something didn't happen after 5 years, it's back up for review for
And-
everybody.
And I don't know if, if it does happen, and then there's, what I've seen, for example, in Shelburne created like a dog park committee, and they have membership, and so there's like some fees involved, and they build up funds that then go to, for example, a trust fund. So, when the fence gets pulled down, or, somebody drives over the benches, that there's a fund then to pull money out to make repairs. So there's a case to have it still sit there, even if it's $1,000 in for,
Okay.
And Ralph, you also had a question about the playground equipment?
The playground equipment, same thing. What's the plan for playground? You got 150, what do you
We-
got, $50,000 or?
We have
25.
reduced that to
50,000.
50,000.
Yeah, you got 50,000.
Yep.
So,
And 25, you're asking
Or
for another
25.
25,000 from the taxpayers.
We're asking
Yeah.
for
So
25,000.
have you even put an RFP out to see what it's gonna cost you for playground equipment?
I have met with landscape engineers. The original estimate that we got was $150,000 with the site that we have currently. And we already have around $12,500 in Friends of Remick Park from donations and grant so far.
and here's the situation basically is, like, there's certain words that I want to use for reliability purposes, but the playground is going to be removed next year. It has to be. And so one of the things that we're thinking about is, instead of asking the voters to front $150,000 right now, is to say, well, maybe this next year, we can have a public process where we invite the public, school kids, everybody to participate in helping to come up with and design what they want to see at Remick Park, if they do want to see a playground. But we do have to remove the playground next year. And initially, we were thinking, well, if it's going to be gone, and it's been there forever, let's give the voters the immediate chance to say, do you want to just replace it right now?
And when you say next year, you're talking this spring? This coming
Starting this spring.
It has to be
Yeah.
removed, it'll be
Yeah.
closed down.
It's in very rough shape.
But you say that, it hasn't been there forever. I mean,
Yeah.
truthfully, that's a relatively modern happening.
Yeah.
It's,
So it's 30 years old.
Yeah.
There are,
Modern to me.
I have visited a 30-year-old wooden playground that has had the proper upkeep, boards replaced, things like that, and it is in very different shape than ours. We have some large issues with it, cracked beams. There's too much that needs to get replaced, and our insurance company has suggested that a full replacement is required.
Suggested, I think it's a soft
Suggest-
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Um,
yeah.
so if this were to pass, we still don't have a fully functional playground.
That, we would start a process to see what people want, do things at the school and surveys and.
But shouldn't we do that
Yeah.
before we take 22.5 and put into another fund that's just gonna sit there for a year, 2 years? Shouldn't we be doing, I thought there was a playground, I thought there was a parks commission already put together to decide what we needed in town. And have they come up with what
That's okay,
they
I'm just
want
getting
for
out of here.
playground, or how they're gonna fund it?
So this is, an alternative, rather than putting everything in. This is an alternative to, have it be a little bit of a slower process. We're not asking for as much next time either, so if we had to do a little bit at a time, we really work on the community aspect. This gives us a chance to get more input. Because if they want a smaller playground or they think we need a bigger one, it's a chance for public to give input. And it also reduces the impact that we're gonna have next time we come and ask for
But if you
money.
do this, what do you have?
What is this?
What do you have, nothing?
What is it?
This is starting
If
off.
this is
Sorry.
if
If you do this, what do you have for
No-
playground?
Nothing.
We won't have anything.
This is just to get rid of what you have, or
Um,
just put money aside to do something later?
Right.
that,
Right, it's
yes.
just going into a fund. Oh, right.
Is there any potential for this to be used as matching funds for anything?
Yes.
The USDA, community facilities is a potential. That's a 50-50 match. So potentially you could turn this into $100,000. There's other funds available through private foundations.
Because I know there seems a lot of deals that we do that
That's
we
right,
have to,
leverage.
they like to see the commitment that the town has committed X amount of dollars
Right.
before they say, be it the Tilson Fund or whoever it is, says that we think you guys have got a good idea, we'll contribute.
Yes, yep.
And it kind of goes along with what Mike was saying earlier about the school system and planning ahead. So do we need to plan ahead for a playground? Yes.
Yeah.
So Chris, what is our 60-second elevator speech on this? If someone says, what's it for? What's our 60-second elevator speech?
All right, it is to create an area for residents, non-resident kids to come have a safe place to play where you're not worried about splinters, you're not worried about, they call them entrapments, where say a kid's legs or head could get through but not their body, so there's a potential to get stuck. So we're creating a space for people to go and not have to worry that their kids are going to be safe.
So this may be the first of 3 years that we do this similar type of funding.
Hopefully much less than that. I don't know how long the Bethlehem playground took, but I don't know if anyone knows how long that one took. I think they started a year and a half ago, not positive. But with the support that we've already gotten, in the last 3 months, we already have $12,500 set aside for it. And when we start pushing, I feel like that's going to be a much faster process than it has been so far.
All right.
How much it is.
Can I move it?
I have a different philosophy on the playground. We tear it out, we need to put one in. You got the summer program in that park, you've got kids all over, that park playground is full every day. I don't know why you dropped it down to 50,000, but if we're gonna put anything back in the budget, I think that playground needs to be put in as soon as you pull it out. I think you need that
Would you propose an
$150,000 in
amendment to
there.
increase it by 100,000?
I will propose an amendment to increase that playground to $150,000.
From 25, it's currently at.
From 50,000, no, from 50,000.
50,000 to
From 50 to 150,000.
Right, no, but it says
second.
adjusted request is 25, it says.
So
That's-
instead,
that's
it
the
will be
net.
125,000
Okay,
coming
we
from the
still have-
Okay,
taxpayers.
but there's still gonna be another 20, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And we can do our best to try to raise as much as we can in between now and then, so that.
Okay. The only, and I'm not against that at all, I'm still enthused about the water park, especially with the warm
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, we didn't,
No,
so
don't.
that's a different thing about.
Yeah,
a little
he
different-
doesn't want, okay.
Different conversation.
I will,
I
I
made
sent a
proposal
motion.
to increase that 50,000 to 150. We tear that playground out, we put a new playground in. That's for our kids in this neighborhood, and I don't think we go through a
Okay,
summer
and
without.
the only reason I mentioned the water
second
park,
it?
which is a
Okay.
second side issue, but I mean, whatever else we have planned for doing, the playground would still be in that footprint.
needs to
right?
be
We're
there.
not-
For
we're not-
safety, the playground is a priority.
No,
Okay.
and it's gonna, I mean, we're not
Yeah.
gonna, by
Move it.
replacing it now in that spot, we're not gonna step on ourselves later and say, geez, we wish we had put it over here.
One of the things we will consider is we just talked to we just had a select board meeting that Parks and Rec went to and presented a new building project, which is also not this year. But we'll make sure that it works with that footprint. As of now in the plan, it does work. So we'll double check with that plan, but yes, the footprint does work.
Okay, so Ralph has a motion to increase, that we're only talking about
Playground
playground,
equipment.
number 14.
From 50,000 to 150,000
Yeah,
requested.
right, or actually
And the
on
adjusted
the,
request would be 150,000.
well, the adjusted request would be 125.
Correct.
What's
With
the
offsetting
25
it.
offsetting it?
That's
That's
fundraising,
what you've already
grants,
got.
that kind of thing.
You've got that available to build a new playground now?
Yes, 12 so
We already
far.
have half of the
That's not my
adjustment.
question. You can build a playground now if we leave that 25,000 adjusted.
No, the 25 plus the 100 you're mentioning. To
100,
change the 25 to 125,
Right.
correct?
but
Yeah.
there's an offset of 25,000. He's
Right.
only got 12,000.
Right.
We're gonna come up with the rest of that.
The other
and start the
12,
playground
Chris
immediately.
says it's in the
That's-
pipeline.
Yeah, that's.
Or
yeah.
grants.
All right.
Donations.
150, I'm going for 150 requested and 125
Yeah,
adjusted request.
yeah. Okay, is there a second to Ralph's motion?
Yes.
Ed, second, okay. Is there any further discussion on Ralph's motion? All those in favor of Ralph's motion to increase the adjusted request on number 14, am I right? Number
Playground
4,
equipment.
from 25 to $125,000, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous?
We're
Is that in
generous
support
right
of the
now.
warrant article too?
Yeah, keep going, I'm
Is that in
generous.
support? So that's to,
What's my
$125,000.
so,
Yes.
Did you put something in his water, Heather?
long ways to go.
Ralph, is there anything further to be discussed on Parks and Recreation dog park?
No, nothing further.
Okay. Are there any other town-sponsored warrant articles that we would like to discuss separately?
What happened to the street sweeper? Why do we have a truck in here and not the street sweeper? Because that was critical when he met us. What happened to the street sweeper?
Town manager talked with us today, talked about trying to keep the tax rate down. So that was one item that was asked if we could possibly try to leg through one more year. And if we had to, if it broke down, have a leased vehicle or
The contracted.
contractor come in and do the work until we could put it on a warrant article again.
So there's a risk associated with it, but if you look at the cost that Billy provided, what he did was he took and analyzed how much would it take to do all this work contracted out, and there was an increase over when we own our own piece of equipment. And so in the discussion, we looked at, if this thing limps along for the full year, great. If we can get it 6 months, then the risk is still low. It's less risk than being down and out of our truck for the year. So trying to prioritize and get our tax rate as low as possible this year, especially, we knew the school was coming in with the 900,000.
And knowing that you want to build that playground, Ralph, we had to make an adjustment. And Ralph, I'm only joking with you. I appreciate you doing that. That's a
Yeah,
nice
thank you.
stand. Okay.
I think the discussion on,
We need it.
the discussion on Thursday is really critical to all of this. And then knowing next month, we can have a follow-up meeting to reassess all the numbers. But for right now,
Billy, the F-550 though, we feel good about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got to keep that in.
Right.
Everybody's-
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay. Any other individual articles, town-sponsored, that we'd like to discuss?
Were there any changes from when it was last presented? I mean, maybe
Other
that's a better way
than the
to,
street sweeper?
maybe attack it like that, because we've had presentations, so maybe we could go down through the ones that maybe have changed and
Well, the road maintenance for various areas, that was presented as 500,000
Yeah.
because of the concerns of having, the school wanting to have their warrant articles on and knowing it's a tight year again. it was dropped down to 300,000.
So on the warrant articles, just so we can relay the message Thursday, how much, what was the big adjustments?
Well, the $2 million proposed warrant article we were gonna do for the industrial park's gone.
Right.
The,
Good point.
road repairs were reduced from 500,000 to 300,000.
Okay, so that's 200,000 road.
We've taken off the street sweeper,
Which was how much? It was 2.
that was about 280,000.
Yeah.
The EMS study.
The EMS study actually was taken off the one before this.
Okay, yeah. And
That
what we're
was-
doing is finding all different locations throughout the budget that we can pull from to get that
To fund
contract
that.
Okay, to
underway.
fund that, okay.
Let's see, we reduced the dog park. I think that was originally a little bit higher than
Yeah, we took
the 45,000.
5,000 off
Current state TV.
Current, yeah.
that.
The-
Oh,
Channel 2.
yeah.
The Channel 2 is out of here. The playground equipment, of course, you already know about that. We've included the unexpended Conservation Commission funds. The parking lot reconstruction, maintenance,
And I'd rather not say that figure yet on the air, just because I'm still close to negotiating, but the figure on your
Okay,
sheet
don't-
is
yeah.
pretty accurate.
All right, so don't say it out loud,
Yeah.
okay.
that has been reduced. The Partridge Lake Association, that one, we actually have looked at it and felt that it was gonna be a little bit more than the one that we had in there. I think it was 83, we're now 85.
But that's hopefully going to be all offsetting funds anyway.
That's
Yes.
correct, yep.
You already know about the parking lot. Town office improvements, we're calling it an ADA safety improvements because a lot of what's being done is ADA related. We're estimating 5,000. We may be trying to get a grant on this, because I have a kind of gut feeling that it's gonna be a little bit more than that, especially when we're talking safety glass in some of the areas. But we're gonna try to leverage what we can towards some possible ADA grants. The adjustment in the parking lot, enhancement loan,
Oh, right.
that we've already discussed with you. That's gonna be a yearly loan, a yearly payment that will be part of our debt schedule if that's approved. And then the unexpended salary line from the PD,
That Paul talked about.
yes, I only put $1,000 in there to start. So every year there would be a warrant article to put whatever we estimated.
Okay, I guess if, to Diane's point, if you could, if you could get a total figure, say
So like
that.
tomorrow, can you give us a total figure of
If we
how
pulled
we, the reductions,
How much you took out?
how much we
I
took
just
out?
wanna,
Well,
Andrew's gonna love this one, the number 20, the adjustment to the parking,
Yeah.
the parking meter fund.
Yeah,
I would recommend we not do this, I don't think it's necessary. If we increase the fees, we're gonna have enough money in that parking meter reserve fund to do some of the things that Andrew can't do today. Or you're just moving it from the parking meter fund to the tax base. So
Yeah.
I would move we not do that.
your point to doing it was that you thought it would give you funds, again, to use as matching funds as various things came up.
That's
that-
right, yeah. So the way.
But
yeah,
having, but with
yeah.
what Ed says about the revenue enhancement, does that still play in?
So
It goes away
yeah.
in 4 years, too.
It goes away in 4 years. I mean, I think that, ideally, it'd be great to move it out, but what Ed's saying is if we do what the parking commission and this board has recommended, there will be more funds available. And after 4 years, it'll start to grow at a more rapid rate. And we'll be able to use that for, the TAP grant, for example. We can turn 200 into $1 million.
It sounds like a second.
Second.
It's
Okay.
good middle ground.
Everybody understand that? Ed's point is that basically, it's gonna it'll expire in 4 years anyway, and.
Right, and try and increase the fees.
Generate more income to work with,
Yeah.
to use for matching funds. It should be adequate.
Okay.
Okay,
Will the fees be at $10,000 the first year?
I think, yeah, if we double our fees and fines, I think that we could
Okay.
potentially get
You're
there.
talking about line 20, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
yes.
Moving it.
okay, yeah. Okay, all those in favor of Ed's motion to basically eliminate line 20, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Did you say no? No. You're not voting.
I think there's a good middle ground in there.
No, I
Yeah.
think, Ed, thank you, a good point made. Okay, so getting back to what Diane says, though, just, at the school meeting, it'd be nice to show the consideration has already been made to,
Yep. I
thin
do
things.
understand what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And I think I pretty much told you what,
Yes,
We
but,
have-
It was
but
gonna, it was, yeah, can
if
you
Diane,
just do it?
if we could have it on a sheet or some
Yeah.
sort of, it would be
Yeah,
nice.
so I don't mess up,
Okay.
okay? That's the main thing.
Okay, are there any other town-sponsored warrant articles that we would like to discuss separately?
No.
Okay. If not, I would entertain a motion to support them all as adjusted, other than lines 4 and 5, which have no figures in them. So, line 6 through 21 as amended.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
second. Motion made by? Beth, second. Okay, Heather? Any discussion on this motion? Okay. All those in favor of supporting the town-sponsored warrant articles as presented and amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Okay, is there anything else that you want to talk about? The budget, the proposed
chamber?
budget? The chamber, yes, we do want to talk about the chamber.
Yeah. The chamber situation, and not to, I don't gonna tell you I know all of it, I just know, I can just express what I've heard as concerns. I think everybody feels that the chamber support is well-spent money. The only, I think, question that I hear at this point in time is that how solid the organization is and how well assured we can be that the money will be used efficiently. Does anybody have any, that's what I'm hearing from various people who've spoken to me. I mean, I've always been a big supporter of the chamber. There again, like I say, the town of Littleton for $14,000, we couldn't come close to doing what they do for $14,000 as long as it gets done. But there have been some hiccups in the last 6 months or 9 months, and I think that's a concern. I don't know, anybody knows more about that than I do, or people have had other input?
I mean, it seems like a lot of the stuff starts out, I think Ed mentioned it last time, it starts out as a volunteer effort, and then, somebody has to take that over if the volunteers go away, like the pianos. So, I think it ties the town together, the lights, all the things that they do, but it's
grown. The
It's
parameters
grown.
have
I
grown.
guess at what point do you say, okay, maybe the volunteers need to come back, or there needs to be more of a volunteer
Does
presence?
the
And I-
Parks and Rec want some more assignments?
No, and I don't, yeah.
Well, I mean,
just teasing.
but that's not such a bad thought. I mean, because it needs to get done. It needs to get done timely, it needs to get done well.
Well, did I calculate right, this costs 25 cents a month per household, per taxpayer? 25 cents a month per homeowner.
Well, that could well be. I
It
didn't know
could very
that.
well be.
So
It's
we're
probably,
talking about the change between your sofa seats in your house. Suppose out of your pocket. If I'm correct.
How many
so are you in
households?
support?
Well, the average household is $181,500.
And how many of them are there?
And, that's a question I've asked. So if you take this tax rate of
Yeah.
.018
Yeah.
times 181.5, you come up with $3.27, which
Yeah.
is 25 cents a month.
Yeah.
But I won't put more figures, pennies in people's mouths,
No,
but that's what we're talking about.
yeah.
To
Well,
keep our front yard
Yeah.
nice and neat.
oh, no,
I do like-
that's right. And
Looks
it
good.
does make a difference. And obviously this year, the lack of it shows.
I got a comment about it. I'm not in favor of the beautification program. I think you've got members of the Chamber of Commerce. They pay membership for the Chamber of Commerce to help them out, take care of them, and advertise their businesses. this is advertisement for the businesses that go from probably the courthouse to this corner. That's all it covers. From the courthouse to this cover. So it's not covering a whole lot of distance for this kind of money. And personally, I think this should be paid for by the members of the Main Street. If they want those brown lights, you can barely see them from here. I mean, they're ugly.
Oh, I think they're pretty.
But Ralph, I mean,
But I think personally, I think-
many businesses in town who aren't on Main Street support the chamber. And the reason we do is we know that it's good for our overall economic
Because the chamber's
vitality.
there to support
Yeah.
the businesses.
That's right.
Okay?
But,
They
Businesses
should support the
us.
businesses by,
Yeah.
they pick this up, or they go to businesses and say, hey, we need you guys, we want $14,000 for fireworks, you need to come up with $14,000 for it, so we can show fireworks to the town.
Yeah.
I personally think this should not be on a warrant article. I think this should be something the Chamber of Commerce should go to their membership and say, we need $14,000 to support you guys, help us out. Especially if they're gonna charge us $600 a year for memberships for the town. They're charging us $600 a year, and then they still want all of this extra money. So I think there's I don't think it satisfies everybody in this town. I think it only satisfies Main Street businesses.
Yeah.
I don't know, I kind of look at it just a little bit differently in the sense of, okay, there is a beautification act, okay, process here. And we're asking the chamber to look it over and handle it. And basically, that's it. I don't think, if they had to do it just themselves, I don't think they would do it just themselves, okay?
It might not be all together. One person might put one color light, another person might put another. And the chamber kind of ties it all
I've
together.
always been a strong supporter of the chamber.
Yeah.
The company is,
But
chamber doesn't do much for the people in the industrial park, with strong supporters of the chamber. I think the parade and these things do a
Yeah.
lot for the overall community. That's
Yeah.
why we support it.
I do too.
And I would say, you know, in a lot of communities, these things are done by Parks and Rec or Public Works, and, you know, like you're saying, there's a lot of things that can be done outsourced really, and they're not, nowhere near as inexpensive as, and Littleton is kind of known for having a downtown, and that's part of what makes it, it's part of the collective whole of what Littleton is, and,
but we'd like to have it done.
yeah, but having it done is important, yep. But I think it is important,
Yeah.
to, piece of.
Now, so we
vitality.
approved these funds. What control or communication do you have? What control or
They-
communication do you have?
They request it in writing,
Yeah.
once it's approved,
As a lump
as a
sum.
lump sum, and I
Can they,
send it to them.
can they be requested to provide
Yeah,
some
Maybe try
information to you?
that's a
You
good
could
question.
Can
recommend
you,
to the
This is-
they
selectmen
submit for
that it's
reimbursement?
part of their warrant article,
It's
they
a
provide
petition.
information.
Okay, so that would be,
Yeah.
I guess that would be my thing.
Well,
You know, and Karen could probably answer this, as far as this is a petition warrant article, the language that comes in the article is set. At a deliberative session, there's the ability to amend petition warrant articles up to what extent?
You can zero out the dollar amount, you can change the dollar amount.
You can change the intent.
You cannot change the intent
You know, you can,
unless
because
there's-
the definition of the intent is this wide.
if it is that wide.
You know,
You
I've
might be able
been,
to remove a word.
yeah, oh no, I've been the victim of that unsuccessfully. It would amaze you that, and I pursued that vigorously thereafter, spoke to several people in Concord and other representatives in southern part of the state, and basically what it came down to is that the legislators had the opportunity to change it. They chose not to change it, so therefore the New Hampshire Supreme Court said, if you guys have the opportunity to change it and you're not gonna change it, we're certainly not gonna intervene, so they didn't. And one person I spoke to, particularly I think in Hillsborough, told me, he says, Steve, he says the whole secret behind it is many legislators are selectmen, and the selectmen wanted the ability to use the term denudor the article, and that's it. So that is a dangerous thing, and it doesn't make you feel very good when you put something together that people don't actually get the vote on, because when they ended up voting on the one I'm talking about, whether you voted yes or no made no difference.
So some of the concern about the chamber situation was, what did it actually cost? Are they reserving any of the unexpended funds for what we presented the money for? And so I think that's the concern that we've had. So I was just chatting with Karen, we can actually request that the chamber provide some kind of, bill of lading, some
Yeah.
kind of information to
An
the
invoice.
community, an invoice of some sort, so we can actually track it and keep, make sure. The one thing that we didn't want to do is just put it into a general fund of the chamber. We actually want it to be used for the things that
Yeah.
kind of fall under this.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a big supporter of the chamber. I think it does a great thing, but I don't want to be sitting here a year from now and looking down that street and seeing the same thing we're seeing tonight. So how do we make sure that it gets done?
It's tough. I mean, I think that with a lot of petition warrant articles, there's limited authority that the town has.
Other than having a conversation
Mhm.
with somebody and saying, okay, this is being approved, but
These are the
if
concerns.
a year from now, yeah, I don't think that's put it in writing. That's, the bottom line is that somebody's got to take responsibility of getting it done. And we say, if next year you haven't performed,
I know,
this will
I've
be at
been,
risk.
I've been actually, you can have the conversation, I've been, Nathan has actually been asking me questions too, so I feel comfortable and also reiterating it from the budget committee perspective, okay? So,
Okay, well,
Yeah,
Do you want to vote on these tonight or not?
yes.
yeah, we'll go
I
ahead
say
and
that.
vote on it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, any further discussion on Articles 22 and 23? Michael?
No problem. Those two articles, the money that they're requesting,
Mhm.
because we want it done.
Yeah.
So why don't we give it to Andrew, give that money to him,
Yeah, well, I
and
don't,
make sure it gets done.
yeah, I don't know if Andrew can get it done for that price, no offense, of it. You guys could probably get it done for that price.
Or whoever can
Well-
get it done.
One of my concerns, I don't know, is this a good time? So one of my staff members also works for the chamber and does the flowers in the summertime, I don't know what else. My man hours during the summertime are already, we need over 80 hours of work done with only 2 people.
Yeah.
So if we take that on, and that's work that one of my staff members already does on the side, on top of his man hours, then we're looking at overtime, we're looking at hiring more people. I think that's something to consider, because that would either eat at my overtime, or I need to pay someone else to come in and help with that, so there's another part-time person on top of what we're already doing. So
Ed?
that's one of my concerns.
Your thoughts?
Well, that's the chamber's request, and it's a petition warrant article.
Yeah.
We can't say, oh, we're gonna give it to somebody
We
else.
can't.
No, but we can say, not support it,
Oh, we can vote against it, sure.
vote against it,
Yeah.
That's,
and knowing, and just taking that amount.
I think a
put
chat.
somewhere in the vote.
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
Let's start with a chat.
We can
Yeah.
vote against it, and the town votes.
Do you
for
want
it.
to, just go ahead and vote on this,
Yeah.
approve it, but have a chat and a review next year.
I mean, this is the first year that they've missed it.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was last year and the year before.
And they've got a, right.
And I
If-
just
if
have
there
to
was
add that
broken
we have
lights.
approved other petition warrant articles that aren't 100% like organized or, you know, as well planned out as we would have liked it to be, so.
Just not quite as visible.
Yeah, I just
But I'm
think a
just saying,
chat.
you know-
Oh, no,
A
you're
chat with
right,
him
Heather,
with the
yeah.
concerns, I think, I'm sure will motivate,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, if there's no further discussion. We have a motion in support of 22 and 23?
I move that we support 22 and 23.
23, a second? Second by Ed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Is that unanimous?
It was.
Did we do it? Are we
No,
done?
we've got the budget,
Oh,
and
gosh.
we've got the $6
The
million
big chunk.
sub two. That's it. Sub
15
two
minutes.
Okay.
and the budget.
Okay, so the budget, okay. not to put words in anybody's mouth, but certainly probably your thoughts. I mean, I think that obviously some very good work has been done. I mean, we're all a bit concerned about the negotiated agreements, because obviously those can skew things quite a bit. But, I guess I'd ask first, any general comments about the overall budget increase?
I move that as presented, as amended.
Oh, I thought he was just asking for conversation.
Well, yeah, would you want to hold that just as?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
I think, you know, you're trying to compete the default with the proposed, and there's a significant difference there, all right? And if you look at the history of the voting, I think in most cases, the people vote for the lower of the two budgets. You need to bring these two budgets, I think we need to bring these two budgets closer together for the proposed to even have an opportunity to get approved by the taxpayers, because there's a significant difference between the two of them. And if you end up with a default budget, you're not gonna get much of anything in there. You know, you're gonna get basically what the default allows, and that's it. So I really think that I think the budget right now, difference in the budget is, actually, this says 3.25, I think we had a different number on there ultimately. And I really think that needs to be under 2%.
Changes, right?
Yeah.
So we need to make some more changes in there to get it under 2%.
Didn't we say that the 2019 proposed budget was only
200.
1 point something difference over the default?
No, it's three, oh, yes, yeah, between the default, yes, between the default
And
and,
the proposed is 1.54% higher. The proposed is 1.5 higher than the
Than the default.
default. Right.
and Ralph, I know, I don't actually know the history of how many times we've actually voted
Since
down
I've
the
been here,
proposed budget.
I only remember twice that the default budget got voted in, and
That's in
I've been.
42 years?
Right.
That's 2 years less than me.
17 years.
I mean, Town of Littleton we have a strong history of being quite generous, truthfully. I mean, the couple of years that we've come to loggerheads usually involved some bigger issues. And it wasn't so much an issue of money as it probably was an issue of attitude or policy that kind of caused things to
Well,
happen.
with that comment in mind, I've got a couple of things in here that I think should be, I want people to recognize. One of them, I made a recommendation was, it's very seldom anybody gets a 3% raise anymore. Even companies out there ain't giving their employees 3% raises. But the town gets one year after year after year after year, we get 3% raises. Why can't we reduce that? The school budget this year,
Yeah.
they're only asking for 1.8.
8.
That's an average. You have to recognize that as an average. It isn't just a 1.8.
No, that's the difference between what they pay now and what they're gonna end up, the difference.
It's an average of the steps. So you've got 14 steps, and they have an increment, and so at the top of the step, it could be a 5% raise for those employees. At the step 14, the more senior one, because they may move from 45,000 to 50,000, that represents less than
So on the
whatever.
bottom of the scale, they get nothing. Because there's only, the increase is
No,
only
there's other
1.7%.
warrant articles in there or other parts of the contract where they may get what's it called, not a seniority.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
a salary increase
I
from
am
your
too.
salary.
I am too.
But Diane's telling you that, so about the
1.78%.
number presented doesn't tell the whole
Let me just
story.
go back
Tell
to
the
my, let me
story.
go back to my
But
story.
one
Let
other-
me- no
no,
matter-
well, just
I'm
one
not
sec.
interested in the school right now.
No, but the other part of that, Diane, remember last year that you figured out that wasn't the whole truth, was the...
It's not, because there are other
But-
pieces in that contract that says that if you've been with us for 15 years, you get an additional $3,000, and so, or $2,000, or
But
25.
that's on that line item as additional It's on there. That's it, $13,000 in there just for that.
Yeah.
It's not part of the salary increase.
Okay. But, and then the other.
But the steps,
I
the
realize, I
average.
just-
Yeah, but
I'm
the
talking
other
about
the other
salary
piece too,
increase.
though, had to do with the insurance. Remember last year, if you took
I'm not getting
the
involved.
lowest insurance plan, I think there was actually no increase to you, so even though there was.
Oh, yeah, well,
that-
really,
There are a
it's
few nuances
weird.
to it, Ralph. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's, I wish it was
Let
quite
me-
that
let me
simple, but
think-
yes, the
let me
point
think
being,
of this.
yes.
The point is,
Yeah,
the town gives a 3% pay increase every year.
yeah.
Do they really need a 3% every year? Couldn't there be a year they get a 1% and not a 3%?
I need to comment.
Okay.
The
Karen?
town has, since I have been here, the town has not given a 3% every year. There has been some years where we got nothing for non-union. There's some years where the department heads got nothing, and the non-union hourly employees got 1.5%. So there hasn't been 3% every year.
There has been for the last 3 years, since I've been here.
I
Was
think
it
there was a
3%?
2.5 one year.
Okay.
Referring to non-union, I think, Ralph, you're probably
I'm
thinking
talking
of
about non-union. I'm only talking.
only
non-union.
non,
Only non-union. Every line item here says 3% increase.
It does.
3% increase. Why can't we can get this down to a
Well, Ralph,
2% budget by reducing that to 2% for 1 year.
make a motion.
But
That's-
yeah.
that's-
But,
that's
but the
understandable.
other part of that we don't always want to talk about, but, you know, sometimes that figure is driven by what the anticipated union contract is going to be, because we're not trying to incentivize more people to join the union.
to unionize.
Yeah.
But I think, didn't Social Security increase by 2.83?
2.8.
2.8 this
For the
year.
first time in 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Okay.
okay, but here
I'm
we
on,
are.
I'm on military income and social security, this is the biggest raise I've got in 6 years, is 2.8%, but the town keeps getting 3%. I just think I don't think we have to do that every year.
We'll make a motion.
Okay, we're good. First, Karen,
Can I make one more comment?
yes, you can.
On the town's health insurance for non-union, the plan that at least I'm on and most of the majority of the town for non-union is going from the employees paying 4.5%, this is the higher deductible plan, to 7%. So what I might be getting for an increase, some of that is going toward because my share of the premiums increasing will
But
be going
that's
to
true
that.
with every company.
Okay.
That's true with every
Yeah.
company, the insurances go up
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah, the other piece that we don't see, and we don't actually get to discuss, in these negotiations, usually there's some items that are discussed relative to the management of the department. And so sometimes, you know, there is some money that's getting, this wouldn't be with the non-union, but on the union side, in terms of, you know, a raise, but also greater flexibility for the department head to run his department and not be.
Save on overtime.
Yeah, say, well, not be subject to, you know, having to post things or whatever based on seniority or whatever that can be
he's-
cumbersome. So
I'm just
sometimes
talk-
there's other
I'm just
things.
talking about a basic salary increase, which brings me to my second point. If you take a look at these 3% increases, and I'll bring the first one up right here, it says right here, now these are restructured, changed from here to there. 3%, let me find one here that's just, hasn't been restructured. 3% non-union, permanent salaries. 44,414 was 2018 approved. If you multiply that by 3%, the 2019 proposed is 50,000. It should only be about 46,000 maximum at 3%. Why are the 3% so much higher for the 2019 proposed than 3%?
Which line item, which page,
Tax
Ralph?
I'm looking at permanent salary, tax collecting,
What
permanent
page?
salaries, number one.
What page?
Huh?
What page?
Oh, page 9.
Okay,
Multiply that salary, 44,414, by 1.03, and it's a whole lot less than what you're proposing for 2019.
one thing in this is we have added in 4 hours per average per week for a deputy tax collector. We have to have a deputy tax collector.
Okay?
So that's factored in there. The other thing you need to remember, and I answered this in an email, I believe, and I don't know, whether it's been distributed or not.
Did it come out late this afternoon?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I
But
didn't get it out.
The
Sorry.
way the raises are calculated is based on 9 months of the year. So the first 3 months of the year are done at 2017's rate. Then we calculate a 3% raise, and it's only for 9 months of the year because our raises don't go into effect until April 1st, after the town has voted on it.
Okay, but isn't this
So-
for a full year budget?
This is for a full year budget, but
Okay.
you're gonna have 3 months in there that will be at one rate and 9 months at another. In 2000,
But that should actually make the figure lower, shouldn't it, Karen?
It should make the figure
Yeah, it
lower.
does.
but the 2018 approved for the tax collector, she was at 35 hours a week and got pushed to 37 and a half hours a week in April.
So that's
Okay.
what,
So that's a piece of it as
What
well.
what about the one here for the, but no, you've taken that extra 4 hours and you put it into a separate line item. So I'm looking at tax collector, 37 and a half hours at this salary, times 1.3 does not come out to this salary.
How much money are we talking about?
We're talking about a percent per person.
Yeah, well, I just wondered how many dollars that is.
Well, isn't our
yeah. But-
employees, your employees are the biggest part of your
Yeah.
budget.
It
So
always is.
1% of all of your employees is gonna be a significant amount.
That's right, and what Ralph's saying is not, the question isn't that, the question is a question of inaccuracy, is what you're saying. I mean, that's what you're asking, why don't the
Yeah, why-
figures match?
If you take this figure and multiply it by 1.03, it should be that and not an elevated figure. And most everything in here is elevated, above 3%.
And I'm happy to go over every single one of them with you. But we're not gonna get it done today.
I understand what you just said.
You are trying to.
No, I understand what you're saying, because the hours changed and you're basically going off 9 months. Gotcha. That's why 1.03 is not gonna work,
For the last 12 months,
going across the line.
over the last 12 months, went up 3.2%.
Okay.
So that's the cost of living for this area.
So we're below that.
Fine. But I'm talking,
Get the playground,
I'm
Ralph.
just,
So Ralph wants to
You
make a
asked
motion to
about
do 3.2.
you know what, I just think that we could
Comfortable?
reduce a significant amount of this budget by reducing the pay raises to 2% instead of 1%. That's not a significant amount in each person's check. It is to them, but it's not to the budget. But overall, it's a big amount to the budget.
But it's a big amount to the employee when their health insurance is going up.
That's why I asked.
My
what
health
is it-
insurance goes up and I don't even get a 3% raise. I end up taking home less money every single year.
Okay, Ralph.
I just don't understand why
Ralph,
we have to do a
We
big
have to,
number.
I understand you have a concern. Make a motion, I will second it, and we will vote on it. That's the
Okay.
only way to bring this to a closure.
I'm gonna make a motion that union employees in this budget only get a 2% pay raise in this budget.
I'll second that. Discussion.
Discussion.
I mean, if I could just speak to that.
Yeah.
They're pushing the town employees further, I think, than they've ever been. They're doing an amazing job. We've done a lot of restructuring. I think that the community itself is buzzing, and we're trying to keep up with the ingenuity of the volunteers and all the businesses in the community. I think that, they deserve to at least break even if it's 3.2%. They're actually taking a cut with the other additions to their health insurance. I think that they're worth it. The employees are your main investment, but they are your main investment, so.
And it hasn't been every year.
Yeah, it hasn't been every year.
And obviously lacking, if you would, the union structure, your
Yeah, we-
ability to manage and,
That's right. We have a lot of ability to manage them. When we need to, we can say, we've done this where we say, look, there's no overtime right now. Everybody's, stop. We can't do this. We have that ability. Or to say, hey, we've got to shift you. We can move you to this other project. We can't do that with union. And union to non-union is a difficult comparison. There's a lot of legal protections for the union members that they get. There's also a lot of benefit. I don't get my uniforms paid for, and I don't think any of the other non-union do, but there's just a lot of considerations that come into play with the cost of union employee versus a non-union, so.
Let's bring it to,
Ed?
The 2 years I was a selectman, I don't think the non-union employees got a 3% pay increase. And Ralph's right, in the area, not many companies year after year have to give them 3%. However, right now today, there's a lot of wage pressure. I don't know how many companies have made adjustments, but we certainly have to, because we cannot hire enough help. Gauge your widening to the
Right.
they can't get enough help. And so I'm fine with 3%. Because you're competing with everybody else.
well, I just wanted to bring it,
Oh, yeah, okay.
No, I understand.
yeah.
So we have a motion to reduce the non-union wage increase from 3% to 2% has been made and seconded, we've discussed it. So what we're voting here is in favor or against the amendment. Okay, so all those in favor of reducing the non-union wage increase to 2%, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay, so it's defeated. Okay, But Ralph, we hear you too. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, it's not a good point. I'm not saying that, you know, it's not justified, but
I just think it was a good place to reduce this budget down to a reasonable amount.
yeah.
I still think the budget is way too high.
yeah,
Personally.
but if this, yeah, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Any other areas of concern?
Yes.
Go ahead. Shoot.
I'm gonna make a motion to take the airport line item out of the budget and put it on a warrant article. And let the people decide if they wanna support the airport or not.
Is there a second to
I'll
that
second
motion?
that.
Is there discussion on that?
Just one thing that I read about it is a contractual
Right.
relationship. And that it is included in the default budget even because of that contractual relationship. But, I mean, we can hear you and then,
Can we amend it to have another vote to have the voters vote on,
staying in the contract.
or getting out of the
A
contract?
referendum, so to speak?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that it's
Yeah.
voted on every year, it's not
Yeah.
ongoing.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I go back, you know, I still personally put a lot of faith in Bert Ingerson, who did the deal originally, and Bert, for any of you who may have had an opportunity to know him, was a real solid guy, and not somebody who gave away his money or anybody else's money. Great person and a great Littleton, you know, citizen, selectman, whatever else, and it's somewhat like the Main Street thing, or Chamber of Commerce, whatever, I mean, you know, we certainly hope the money is being used as beneficially as possible. And we certainly, I think we have seen an improvement over the years in terms of their numbers and accuracy and their presentation. Would I like to see more? Yes, I would, but they're again relatively small money for the potential benefit, which is hard to measure.
But I think we'd like to see, or I would like to see more of our area towns getting on board
Oh,
and to
yeah.
support that.
That's right.
And also, I found it was kind of, I realize it's a volunteer commission, but and the folks of the past have made agreements long-term for hangars and renting space that basically should have had a look-back period to upgrade to the current times. And so I think
Acceleration
some of
clause.
these people are getting good deals and are not carrying their full share of the burden. So I think we have to put a little pressure on the group to work at that and to kind of raise more funds and be more proactive in getting more people aboard.
After their presentation to us, there was a conversation held that to give them some insight into exactly what you're talking about, approaching other towns. But yes, certainly, there again, you're not talking huge money, so why some of these towns wouldn't be involved, you know.
Well, and the other thing is, and I know they said it's hard to get statistics, but I think, you know, they're leading towards, you know, commercialization and the National Guard, et cetera, to raise more funds. But I think that we need to see some statistics as to the breakdown of commercial
Yeah, I don't see
versus
your email.
the amateur pilot that likes to use the facility that maybe doesn't really generate a whole lot of income.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one other thing, I think they use a lot of their fuel sales as revenue, so, you know, they could probably adjust some of that to
Yeah,
accommodate
and they
any of
did
that.
mention, what if they could get into the jet fuel business, that
Right.
would improve things.
So,
To me, this is, to have an airport associated with that area is important. I don't know if we did contribute, is it $6,000?
Which is actually a bit less than what we should be contributing.
The contract calls for just over $8,000, I believe.
And that is, you talked about the volunteer folks, on certain of these, we really get the bang for a buck, we get bang for 10 cents because of all the volunteers. I think that not support the airport at this time, when they're making this transition, might be a wound that would take them a long time to recover. I was impressed by the energy of the people speaking and their goal of overcoming what maybe other volunteer boards were lacking. And I spoke to them afterwards, and they had some good plans. They were somewhat concerned that other towns didn't do it, but I think maybe other towns, for what other reason, maybe it's the location or what, but they said most of the people landing in that airport come to Littleton. So I believe that I would rather err on the side of safety and keeping that airport going to see how this new team works out, than to maybe give them a wound they may not could recover from. So I would not vote for your amendment.
Well, one of the questions I asked that gentleman was, who's the biggest user of the airport? And he said Mount Washington.
Yeah.
And Mount Washington will not contribute to them until they build this big elaborate reception area for them, he told me. So Mount Washington doesn't even involve, but Littleton's not the biggest user of it. Mount Washington is the biggest user of it.
But, yes, but
Mount
I didn't say
Mount
that.
Washington doesn't contribute because the airstrip isn't on there.
Right, they need another
For the
1,000
planes
feet.
that they want. If they expand, Mount Washington will get involved. Until then,
But
And
I
they
think
can't
there's-
So Mount
expand.
then they
Washington
can't
is
expand.
still their biggest user, is exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Mount Washington should be
Yeah.
contributing. And
I-
that's
Oh,
why
and I don't think
I'm
anybody-
gonna
I
vote
don't-
for that
And if
happen.
they
I
don't,
nominate
don't.
Ralph to go talk to Mount Washington.
Another thing about the jet fuel was, if I remember correctly, if they had jet fuel available, which they would have if they did the helicopters, I think, right? Then jets could actually fly in there because they had to do with a fuel load that they wouldn't
Instead
have
of the
to.
runway length.
Right, so they wouldn't have to extend the runway because they could be carrying lighter loads or whatever and could get in and out, however that all works. So, but anyway. but-
All right, so I'm looking around the room, and we have some very fatigued department heads. Do we have any questions about the police department?
Well, we're gonna vote on this.
I mean, a question, on the, oh, sorry, go ahead. Are you making a motion? What was your motion for the,
I made a motion
Oh.
to have the voters reevaluate or approve or disapprove the current agreement in effect that's
Yeah,
contractual.
right, and that would only be really a referendum, in other
Well,
words,
that-
not non-binding, it would just be
That
expressing.
was the second
and-
question. First motion was to move
Yeah.
that money to a warrant article and have the town vote.
Yeah, but
It's a
I
contractual.
don't think that we
Yeah.
can do that.
Of course we can.
We can?
Well, you can
But it-
recommend to the selectmen. This is what you're doing, the
Right.
budget committee is recommending.
Yeah, but if it's a contractual
Yeah.
agreement,
It's a contractual
I'm not sure if we
But
say
we're
no,
already-
that,
We're already in violation of the agreement
Yes.
by having $6,000. We're already in violation.
that's right.
It's
And
a
I
different
think, and I
facility,
think
it's a
that
different-
decrease several years ago, Ralph, was to get their attention, but you may have been on the board at the time, that basically, we shortened it up by a couple grand just to say,
Karen paid the whole thing when they built it.
was that?
She paid the whole thing.
She found the other two.
You're so
I'm gonna stick-
generous.
my
okay, so
nomination-
you, to move it to a
I'm
warrant
saying to
article.
move the
Okay, well-
airport line item out of the budget and
Yeah,
onto a
okay.
warrant.
So the question I have is whether whether that's legitimate to do. My gut feeling
Let's
is that
make a
it is.
recommendation.
Second.
Well,
Let's second.
I know that, but I guess I don't personally have a good feeling that's, I mean, the referendum part of it, I don't have an argument with that, but
Passes, there's no issue.
that's true, but if it doesn't pass and Karen still
What does
waits
it-
on the check, then
Yeah,
what does that say?
So what does it mean if it doesn't
It means-
pass?
It means, I think
It's
it
just
means
a
no.
Just don't pay it?
That's right.
It might mean-
It's
it
a
might mean-
recommend-
I don't know.
No, it means no means maybe,
And you don't think that, well,
It could be.
yeah.
they're not,
It might be
Okay.
the-
Okay, well, anyway, if you'd like to bring it to a vote, we can certainly bring it to a vote. We have a,
If you read the contract, it says if the town does not pay its annual fee,
yeah,
they may be removed from the commission.
yeah,
Mm.
If they don't pay it the second year,
Yeah.
you are removed, you
Yeah.
shall be removed from the
Yeah.
commission.
that's right. And I know you brought that up that night.
So that's it.
Okay,
That's
so
right. Okay.
there's a second to
Yes,
that?
there's a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion to remove support of the White Mountain Airport from the budget and move it to a warrant article, please say aye.
Aye.
All
Yeah,
those
I'll do it.
opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Abstain.
So that is six yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention.
As a point of order or formality, does that mean that we need to get a warrant article petition signed in order to get it on the warrant article?
No, if the selectmen
Okay.
go along with your motions,
Selectmen don't have to do it.
And they might not. They may not.
There may be a firewall. Anyway, okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so going back to
Okay.
my
Yeah.
question, we have a lot of department heads here, and do we have, I'm gonna start over in that corner.
Does
Any more
anybody
for
wanna
Parks and Rec? Any more questions? Parks and Rec on the budget. Any more discussion on the police department? Any more on the fire?
We haven't had a question yet on the fire department.
Any more on the on the
Highway.
highway?
And Brian,
Transfer
you've been,
station.
free.
Do you have any questions?
Chief, any feedback on the application for the grant for the fire truck?
after, probably after April.
Okay. Figured I'd ask.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that,
Okay.
you know, if you want to hang around, you're welcome. If you don't, go home.
Okay, so other than the amendment that we made, is there any further discussion on the budget as presented? So if that's the case, I would entertain a motion to support the budget as presented, other than the one amendment that we passed with regards to the airport.
Can discussion point?
Well, first,
I know,
yeah,
yeah.
just ask for a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second, okay. Discussion.
Discussion, we have two things that, the negotiated agreements that are still before us. And we still, I don't want to say that the school is on the town's back, but the school and the town are on the taxpayers' back. So, you know, going forward, voting for this, with the caveat that we may have to come back in January and just kind of look at everything. Does that sound okay?
It's gonna be after January 8th.
Okay.
No, because the contracts don't have to be ratified until.
Okay, but whenever they're,
so
yeah.
after.
I have one comment to make sure that you're aware of, is I have to do the same thing with the transfer station budget, the parking meter budget, the Opera House budget, as I did last year. So they will be the numbers that you have here, but you're gonna see them on separate warrant articles.
Because they're gonna be set up as.
Because I have to do them because they're considered special revenue funds.
Okay.
And once we pass that, hopefully we do, then what happens into the future?
The only thing I can do in the future to change it back is to close those accounts and open them up as revolving funds, which I was thinking of doing this
Yeah.
year, but I think it would be very confusing for people.
Yeah. The downside, just like last year, I mean, God forbid that those articles had failed.
Well, we will have default numbers this year.
And but last year, we weren't even sure that if there was a default number, right? Because how could you have a default number on something that didn't theoretically exist?
We had the default as part of the operating piece.
Yeah. Okay, I guess.
That's the only way I could do it.
Yeah.
And that was the New Hampshire DRA that was telling me what to do.
Yeah.
Keep
boy.
us honest, Karen.
Yeah, I know, but it just, it really challenges the intellect to think that.
It's like dealing with the IRS.
Well, no, but like you do this, thinking you've been doing the right thing all these years, and then all of a sudden somebody says, oh, by the way, I mean, that makes no sense.
Okay, we
Leave.
Yeah,
Motion made,
okay,
second.
motion,
Okay.
yeah, we're tired.
Yeah, okay, so, motion made, seconded, discussed, all those in favor of supporting the proposed budget minus or excluding the one amendment made to it, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Sounds like 8-0 to me. Okay, anything else?
Yes,
Oh, ooh,
that sub-area
Heather?
two,
Sub-area 2, yes.
Thanks, Heather.
Oh, yeah.
thank you, Heather.
sub-area two's the last one,
Yes.
Sewer?
yes.
Yeah, and so, I don't know if you need a motion first.
New figures.
This is the 2.3. This is $6,322,300.
Yes,
$6,322,000?
yes, and we also have the $49,000 one too.
And that's a, separate one, the sewer system
Asset study.
asset management study.
Okay, that's one that's not on here,
That's
Right.
right.
which is gonna be 49,000?
Mhm.
Yes,
No, with no offsetting funds?
With
All offsetting.
All offsetting?
Yeah, and the offsetting funds were $30,000 Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund,
Yeah.
and then $19,000 for the sewer fund.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, you wanna do that one first?
Yeah,
The
that'd be easy.
49,000?
That one's the easy one.
Okay,
Yeah.
and which you basically explained.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna get $30,000 in funding, and we have $19,000 in matching funds, so to speak, or to fill the whole deal that's coming out of the sewer users reserve,
That's
yes.
correct. Yeah.
okay?
So moved. So moved.
So move, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, for sub two, what's gonna be the taxpayer?
Ooh,
No,
Rob, no,
that's-
we're
no,
just,
that's-
we're gonna do that
This
next,
is the-
but this is just the
Oh, never
sewer.
mind, okay,
Wait,
we're
wait,
just on the
yep.
49,000.
Just to get,
Yeah,
okay,
wait.
sorry, okay. Any discussion on the $49,000? I shifted gears on you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Chris DeFikas told me how to do that. Okay. You realize good. Sorry. You could move from one discussion to another, never even know you changed the subject matter.
Can you agree to something you didn't know? That's all good.
I'll never forget Chris. Okay.
All in favor?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 7-0. Heather's gone. Okay, now, Andrew, sub 2, which is,
The presentation that Andrea
yeah,
had done. So this one would have offsetting funds of 45%. We're gonna draft a warrant article, so it's dependent on getting the USDA funds. And to answer Ralph's question, this is a sewer fund project, and the debt would be paid for out of the sewer fund, so it's not a taxpayer, it's not gonna be on the tax rate, it would be on the sewer fund.
okay.
So,
But the sewer people are gonna get hit with a tax increase, or a rate increase, not tax,
Right.
rate increase to pay
So
for
the
it.
3 million something's gonna come out of taxpayer increases.
Out of
Right.
sewer
Rate-
users.
Oh, sewer, yeah.
Sewer user funds, yep, yep.
But we're gonna get an increase on the
Oh,
sewer
yeah.
usage, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
you will. Yeah, I mean, there will be potentially savings that are happening from not treating,
Water, as much water.
yeah. And, also just the cost savings of, this is gonna have to happen anyways, so each year that we wait, there's a
I
large
just,
increase.
I
But
understand
there
that.
will be, you're right.
That just has to be out there so people, yeah.
And I do have a chart, and I don't think I've emailed it to you yet. The DES has given me a chart of all the community sewer rates, just so you can take a look and see where we're at. So,
How do we fare?
I haven't had a chance to
Yeah.
review it, but
Yeah.
I'll pull it out and we'll look, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
Do we have a motion to support Article 2,
so
I make a
moved.
motion.
sub-area 2?
Oh,
Second?
yeah, second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 7-0.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
Karen used to do box scores when she went to the baseball game.
All right, we'll see you Thursday.